some way or the other. So we may play our part, but things have to fall in place for everything to work out. So if we consider a sport like cricket, a batsman may bat very well, but for the batsman to have a match winning performance, so many other things have to fall in place. What is it? It shouldn't rain and the match shouldn't get wiped away. Or the other batsmen should not all get out and he is left with the left. See, there are so many other things which have to work out. And this is where we actually see that even when we are successful, that it is Krishna who has enabled us to do success. It is not to deny our efforts, it is not to downplay our efforts, but it is just to acknowledge reality that our efforts alone hardly ever bring success. So many things which could have gone wrong, and we say so many things went wrong and I fixed them. And that is true. But there are so many other things which could have gone wrong and which I might have had no ability to fix them. So, so many things have to work out. That's why the idea is that when Prabhupada is to be Krishna conscious, is to acknowledge that Krishna is always acting in our life. Krishna is always acting in our life, and one of the ways to see how Krishna is acting is to see that whichever area I'm successful in my life, there is so much that actually worked out. Krishna works. So Prabhupada is saying, you brought me here, my Lord. That you have brought me here, and that is now what you want to do with me, you can do it. So that Koroe Begati. So the next paragraph. Who would like to read?
O omnipresent Lord, let my consciousness of you become an empowering blend of practical consciousness and transcendental consciousness. Practical consciousness will keep me aware of my immediate situation, its challenges and opportunities. Transcendental consciousness will keep me aware that you are always in charge. If I have only practical consciousness without transcendental consciousness, I will be consumed by anxiety and paralyzed by panic. If I have neither practical nor transcendental consciousness, I'll be lost in my head, unable to do anything worthwhile. If I have only transcendental consciousness without practical consciousness, I'll become unrealistic, over dependent on your intervention without doing my part.
About Srila Prabhupada, it was said that his head was high up in the sky and his feet were firmly on the ground. So the idea is that when we talk about Krishna consciousness, in Krishna consciousness, both these aspects are there. There is practical consciousness. So practical consciousness means that if we are doing some service practically, we are cleaning the temple hall, we are cooking, we are driving someone. It's practical consciousness. And then there is transcendental consciousness. Transcendental consciousness is where if we are driving a devotee somewhere, then we are aware that this is a devotee, this is Krishna's devotee. Now, in general, we need to have both practical consciousness and transcendental consciousness. So, if we have neither, neither conscious of Krishna nor conscious of our situation. Say, imagine we are driving a car, we are not aware of our circumstances also. Then we may lose our power for awareness permanently. Then we might meet with an accident. So this is likely to be disastrous. So having neither. Now, sometimes if we consider these 4 points, that if we have only transcendental consciousness and no practical consciousness. So one time one devotee was driving me in America and he was driving very fast, way above the speed limit. So I told him, what is the speed limit here? He said, don't worry, you are Krishna's devotee, Krishna will protect you. So I told him that when we speak, Krishna leaves the car. No. Our transcendental consciousness cannot become an excuse for being practically conscious. Did you know? So, if we are only transcendently conscious and not practically conscious, then what will happen is we will have, we will often be impractical, we will be unrealistic. There will be often self created trouble. Hmm? Krishna consciousness does not mean that we become absent minded and say that our absent mindedness is Krishna consciousness. Isn't it? Now we need attention to details also. So the idea is that yes, Krishna is present in our heart, Krishna is present in the spiritual world, but Krishna is present in the world around me also. Krishna is present in my circumstance. Krishna is present in the opportunity for serving him that is present in the situation for. So we need to have practical consciousness also. Now, on the other hand, if we have only practical consciousness and no Krishna consciousness or no transcendental consciousness, but what do I mean by this? Practical consciousness and transcendental consciousness. We could say if this is the world and this is the spiritual world, and say Krishna is here. So at level, on level transcendental consciousness is that I'm aware that Krishna is above me, that Krishna is the ultimate reality. Hmm? At the same time, when we grow in Krishna consciousness or we go towards Krishna, we generally, this is our consciousness, but this is not generally our path. Our path usually goes through the world to Krishna. Hmm? So it is not that we remember Krishna and simply we turn away from the world and go to Krishna. Even if we renounce the world, still we are in the world and still we have to function in the world. And we go through the world to Krishna. Of course, we don't want to go so much into the world that we forget Krishna. That is also there. But the point is, this is our practical service to Krishna. Remembering that Krishna is above me is transcendental consciousness. Krishna is above me, Krishna is within me. That is transcendental consciousness. But at the same time, Krishna is guiding my steps here in this world. That whatever steps I take, that should be in a mood of service to Krishna, should be anukul to my Krishna consciousness. So that is practical consciousness. Now, if we have only practical consciousness and no Krishna consciousness, then what will happen is often we will get overwhelmed by the world. We will feel, oh, this problem, that problem. We'll overwhelmed by the trouble of the world, or we will become captivated by the pleasure of the world. Hmm? Either way, practical consciousness will consume us. So practical means okay, this problem is there. This is the I need to do all these things. So only practical consciousness is not enough. Hmm. Now, what is the best is if we have both. So when we have transcendental consciousness, that in one sense keeps us confident, that keeps us faithful. Yes, no matter what I am going through, Krishna is with me. And my practical consciousness that keeps me careful. That careful means that it is not that I create trouble for myself unnecessarily. I have to be aware of dangers and I need to deal with the danger. So I need to be careful. So I'm careful and faithful. So careful that I do my part properly, and faithful that Krishna will do his part. Ma manusmara yudhyacha. So ma manusmara is transcendental consciousness. That is, yes, Krishna is there. But then Krishna wants me to do some part. And how do I do my part? That is practical consciousness. So when Srila Prabhupada, if you see his statements, at one level, Prabhupada said that there are temples, they're filled with devotees. Only time is separating us from them. Now, this is Prabhupada's transcendental consciousness. This is Prabhupada having faith in Krishna's plan, confident that that plan will work out. At the same time, the same Srila Prabhupada also said that when he landed on the Boston Pier in America, he said, I didn't know whether to turn left or right. At a practical level, there was a lot of uncertainty. And Prabhupada never claimed that he had a hotline to Krishna. And when Prabhupada would meet any person, Krishna would tell him, whisper into his ear, this person is not going to become a devotee. Don't waste time on this person. This person will become a devotee, spend time with this person. No, Prabhupada was using his judgment. And using his judgment, he was making decisions. So he was Butler, Pennsylvania, and there he was treated more like a curiosity object spiritual teacher. That, oh, people want Swami is from India. That Eastern spirituality was a big thing more in the coastal areas. So there's some curiosity over there, coastal areas of America, I mean. The Midland and the southern part was quite still conservative, evangelical Christian. He was treated as a curiosity object in Butler. He was not really treated as a spiritual teacher. So if it had been the time of smartphones, people would have gone, Swamiji, one selfie, please. So now Prabhupada realized that there's not much opportunity over here. And he moved from there to Philadelphia. Then he came to New York. From New York, he came to the Bowery. Then he moved to the Lower East Side. So his practical steps he was taking based on his judgment. Now, what is favorable for the service to Krishna? And some things that he did worked, some things that he didn't work. So that transcendental consciousness that Krishna's plan is always working. The practical steps is, okay, what is my part in it? Let me try to understand. Let me try to analyze. It is not that Bhaktivedanta Thakur gave him a blueprint of how to spread Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada was using his God-given intelligence. So the idea is that practical and transcendental consciousness both need to be combined for us. Any of the Vaishnavis would like to read the third paragraph? Or who has it? Maybe
Bless me, O Almighty Lord, to cultivate both. Let transcendental consciousness keep me faithful and calm, and let practical consciousness keep me resourceful and alert. Thus, like Srila Prabhupada, may my head remain in the sky, while my feet stay firmly on the ground as I walk the path of your service.
Yes. So, as I walk the path of your service, as devotees, we all need to be creative. Krishna has given us some creative ability, and we need to use it for serving him. So, okay, this particular service, how do we do it? So, for example, now we want to have a temple. Such a beautiful temple we have over here. Now, the exact design. Now, that is, there are many beautiful designs out there. But this is the devotee's creativity. Okay, we would like to have this kind of shapes. We would like to have this kind of lighting. We would have this kind of ambience. So, our purpose is to serve Krishna, but the specific about how we go about the steps to serve Krishna, in that each one of us needs to be resourceful. And in many ways, Srila Prabhupada was not told by his spiritual master to specifically go to America. His spiritual master told him that in English or in the Western world. Now, pre-World War II, the more or less the superpower was UK. Post World War II, it became USA. So Prabhupada decided to go to USA. Now, when Prabhupada was asked about it, Prabhupada with very disarming humility, he said, my god brothers, they went to UK. They didn't succeed. I thought if I am going to fail, let me at least try at some other place and fail. So Prabhupada, Krishna had a plan and Prabhupada was determined. Prabhupada did not fail. He was spectacularly successful. But that faith was there. This is my spiritual master's instruction. Now for each one of us, when we feel a bit disoriented in our life, we need to see what is it that is lacking. Is it that my transcendental consciousness is lacking? Is it that I'm not remembering Krishna enough? Is it I'm not hearing enough, I'm not chanting enough, I'm not aware of Krishna's supreme presence. So if things are not working in our life, or is it that my practical consciousness is lacking? That means the situation I am in right now is also ultimately within Krishna's arrangement. And in this situation, I have an opportunity to serve him. So, भगवान की जय, बलदेव सुभद्रा माई की जय, निताई भगवान की जय. So, in one sense, we could put it in other terms as devotees, when we function in this material world, we have to have 1 foot in Vrindavan and 1 foot in Kurukshetra. So, 1 foot in Vrindavan is Krishna, you are my Lord. I am dependent on you. So that is 1 foot in Vrindavan. But we have to have 1 foot in Kurukshetra also. That is that. Now, that doesn't mean we have to go out fighting with devotees. That is not the point I'm making. We should label things that I'm a Pandava and you're a Kaurava. Not like that. But the point is that in the material world, getting anything done is not easy. It requires effort. So that fighting spirit, that ready to willingness to push on, even in the presence of opposition and obstacles, that is required. Satatam kirtayanto ma yatantascha drudhavrataha. Krishna is telling over here that even those whose hearts are so purified that daivim prakritimashtritaha, they're completely sheltered in Krishna. And they're constantly glorifying Krishna. Satatam kirtayanto ma. But even for them, when they have to do some service in this world, even they face opposition. And that's why yatantascha drudhavataha. They need to endeavor, and not just endeavor with great determination. Now, for us, many times the endeavor required is more internal. Our mind and senses are going everywhere, and we have to bring them back. That is there. But even if our mind and senses were completely focused on Krishna, still endeavor will be required. Because in the material world, nothing works easily. Prabhupada had to endeavor so much. That's why, so the transcendental consciousness is Krishna in Vrindavan, and I am a part of Krishna, and that is where I belong ultimately. But right now, when I'm in the world, this is Kurukshetra. And we have to do what it takes to protect our service. That is, and to make sure that our service flourishes. So, in one sense, you could say, for us, the path to Vrindavan is through Kurukshetra. That we need to fight to do our service, fight to remember Krishna. Ultimately, we'll become absorbed in Krishna. But while going through Kurukshetra, we should not get caught in Kurukshetra and forget that I have to go to Vrindavan. That practical consciousness and transcendental consciousness. I'll give 2 examples of this, and then we'll move to the next prayer. I was just a few months ago, I was in Singapore, and I've been doing phenomenal. It's very beautiful yatra over there. Singapore itself is a fairly small country. Now, unfortunately, because of some past actions by who went to the Devatas temples and they criticized the Devatas over there. So what happened is ISKCON as an organization is banned over there. But we have devotees, we have a presence, and we do yatras and we do other things also over there. Now, when the devotees practice and share Krishna Bhakti over there, so that Krishna and Krishna Bhakti is a part of the larger culture also. But there is a constant that legal tension, legal anxiety is there. So how do we deal with it? So the idea is that a devotee may be firm in the devotion, but devotee has to be strategic in the navigation. So when they do programs, how do we present ourselves? How do we choose not to present ourselves? Those are some decisions we have to make. In life, when we say we have to fight battles, which battles we want to fight and which battles we should not fight, all that is a matter of strategy. When Arjuna, on the 14th day, when he had taken the vow, I'll bring Jayadratha down tomorrow before sunset, or I will enter into fire and end my life. So Drona had multiple levels of plans to foil Arjuna. Now, one part of Drona, as the commander of Duryodhan, wanted those plans to succeed. Another part of Drona wanted to see how his student Arjuna would outclass his plans, would outsmart him. So the first plan was, in one sense, the most tempting. That was right in the beginning of the war. What happened? Drona came forward and he challenged Arjuna. So the entire Kaurava army was behind, Jayadratha was at the end. And Drona challenged Arjuna to fight. And Arjuna started fighting. Now, after Bhishma had fallen, Drona was the commander and Arjuna was the best warrior on this side. So this was a big fight. And as they're fighting and fighting and fighting, and Arjuna was slowly getting the upper hand on Drona. But Drona was also fighting back. And at that time, Krishna told Arjuna, Arjuna, this fight could go on the whole day. Today, you have another target. So Drona's target there was to, in one sense, waste Arjuna's time. And Krishna said no. So Arjuna heard, yeah, that's right. So Arjuna suddenly shot a series of arrows towards Drona and just stunned him temporarily. And while Drona was trying to reeling and recovering from those arrows, Krishna took Arjuna's chariot by the side and dashed, they raced ahead. And Drona saw, Arjuna, have you become a coward? Why are you running away? Come and fight with me. So Arjuna just kept charging ahead. So the idea is, sometimes we have to say no to some battles so that we can fight some battles. So which battle is more important, which battle is not so important? So now we may say, okay, we want to do public Harinam Sankirtan. It's wonderful. But we do one public Harinam Sankirtan and after that we are never able to do any public Harinam. No, in English they say it's penny wise and pound foolish. So we need to practice bhakti in a way that we can keep practicing bhakti. So sometimes, if we are not practical means, you see what works in this situation. What works in this situation, let me do this and then let me move forward from there. So another example is, the way when I travel across the world, I just meet many amazing devotees. Or not just the devotees are amazing, of course the stories are also amazing. So I met one devotee in America. He was from Iran. And during the pandemic, he was searching spiritually and he searched online and he came across Krishna consciousness. He was attracted to it, but among all the Middle East countries, Iran, it is the most difficult. We have some countries like Bahrain and UAE. UAE has become much more open now. Oman is a little bit open, but Iran, it's very difficult. So he had a lot of difficulty in getting associated. No, he's not an Indian in Iran. He was Iranian in Iran. So it was not only the association not available, practice of bhakti was also very difficult for him. And he's from a very well-to-do family over there, so they have their own business. Now, of course, Iran is currently in a big crisis with its currency really on a free fall. It's crazy sometimes. We have currency paper. So it happened to Zimbabwe and Iran is going in that direction. Zimbabwe, I met one devotee from Zimbabwe. He said that we would go to the market with a bucket full of Zimbabwean currency. And when you were to buy something, the shopkeeper would take the bucket and throw away the whole currency and give us something in exchange for the bucket. So the currency can get so devalued at times. So I think the Iranian currency is is gone down enormously. Not to that bad, but anyway. So this devotee was in Iran and he wanted association. And he had a flourishing business, but he decided that for him, from there, I want to go to America. So he got into college. He did some 1-year course. And doing that course, he got admission into an American university. And because he was from Iran, getting visa was very difficult. So he had to get admission in the university, which would offer him a full scholarship and which would give him a high recommendation. We want you to come. But that university, there was no devotee association over there. So he went there and he studied in that university for 2 years. And every weekend, he would drive for 6 hours to go to the nearest temple. And then after 2 years, then he got a job, and now he's living in a flourishing devotee community. So there's a transcendental consciousness. Krishna, I want to be with you. But practically, he had to make a strategy. How can I get in association? How can I cultivate and practice bhakti in a supportive environment? So both the dependence on Krishna and diligence for Krishna. Both of these are important. So let's. So then we talk. Prabhupada is saying, you must have some purpose, I humbly guess, some hidden aim in this wilderness. So you can repeat after me. My dear Lord, grant me humble confidence in divine providence. So as devotees, we have to have humility, but our humility needs to be complemented by faith. And the faith is expressed as confidence. That if I am put in a particular situation, Krishna will give me the resources to deal with that situation. Krishna will give me the ability to deal with that situation. Now the next verse is amazing because Prabhupada is saying over here, Nahe keno ani bena ei ugrasthane. Why would you bring me to this ugrasthan? Now Prabhupada may well be the only Indian who went to America and said this is a ugrasthan. For most Indians, America is the spiritual world. When I was introduced to Bhakti, at that time I had done very well in GRE. I was first in Maharashtra, so I had got invitations from opportunities to go to many universities in America. And I had a maternal uncle who had his own company. So, and he didn't have a son, so he wanted me to come there and be a part of his company, maybe lead his company in the future, whatever. But somehow, uh, by Prabhupada's mercy, I started focusing on studying and teaching the Bhagavad Gita. So about 20 years later, 2014, I was invited to go to America on a speaking. I went, and then I came back. Many of my relatives who had completely forgotten my existence for 20 years. They called me and they said, "Oh, you went to America, your life is successful now." So now the idea is that is so much infatuation. If some person from America comes back, it's not so it may not be so right now, but maybe 5 years before, 7 years before, if somebody goes to America and they come back from America for a visit to India, it's like, oh, you've gone to some outer planet and come back. It's such a grand welcome. So Prabhupada is in America, and Prabhupada is saying this is Ugrasthan. So why is Prabhupada saying it's Ugrasthan? He's seeing not the material prosperity, he's seeing the spiritual emptiness. So, my dear Lord, prosperity without you is invisible poverty. See, in India, there may be much visible poverty, and it's distressing to see. But when there is invisible poverty means that people actually don't know what are they living for. Their life does not have any real meaningful purpose. And then there's so much emptiness in life. Mm. So it's a very distressing situation to be in. But the problem is that it is distressing and nobody knows that you are distressed. Because when you have a nice house, you have comforts, you have luxuries, but what am I living for? Now, people say, I want to live for enjoyment. But enjoyment simply sense pleasure as a purpose of life. After some time, it just becomes empty and boring. It doesn't hold that appeal after some time. A person is try for more and more and more sense pleasure. But it just becomes pointless after some time. So Prabhupada is seeing that invisible poverty. And what is the poverty? Prabhupada is saying that people are covered here by the modes of passion and ignorance. So that there is progress, but progress that can actually put us in greater distress. That is not really progress. So guard me from the spell of the progress that increases distress. In the West is, this is not to, see, I'm not here to glorify India and condemn the West. The point is, there's spiritual culture and there is materialistic culture. India, there's a lot of materialistic culture, and in the West also there is spirituality. But overall, in the West, materialism is much more prominent. In India, at least the spirituality is significantly there, even if it's being neglected. So the point that happens is, in the West, there's a lot of material progress. But that material progress has unfortunately been accompanied with a loss of a spiritual perspective, a loss of spiritual purpose. And then that's why there is so much distress. There's so much loneliness. There's so much pointlessness of life. So Prabhupada is saying this Rajastamo Guna era, Sabai Achan. Everybody is covered by the modes of passion and ignorance. So now let me focus on one more where, and then we will move forward. That. Okay. Now here Prabhupada is saying something very interesting. So, Tomara Ichhaya Saba Hoy Maya Bash. That everybody is under illusion. It is, O Lord, by your arrangement. Fall to illusions entirely. I mean that Krishna wants people to be in illusion. Sometimes we try to practice bhakti, and some temptation that we are trying to give up, that temptation keeps coming up. We may think, maybe this is what I'm meant to do. And we may say like that. Let's try to understand this. So, only by your power, O Almighty, is illusion mighty. Who would like to read it? Yes.
My dear Lord Srila Prabhupada articulates a profound truth about reconciling the mighty power of illusions with your almighty will. You are always the well-wisher of every living being, desiring only good for all and harm for none.
Yes. See, in this world, to try to understand the nature of the world is quite difficult. We all can try to understand it in different ways, and there can be different metaphors used to understand the nature of the world. So, this is an elaborate subject, but let's consider a few metaphors which explain the nature of the world. So, for example, one common metaphor is a dream. Jiva jago, gaura chande bole. That what we are in a sleeping state and we need to wake up. So the world is like a dream. Now another is that this is like a reflection. Urdhvamulam adashakam ashwatham prahuravyam. So or we can say it's like a mirage. So now each of these, they convey some point. Like when we say it's a dream, that we need to go to a different state of consciousness. Each metaphor conveys one particular point. Different, I need to go to a different state of consciousness. If we consider the reflection, that the world is like a reflection or a mirage, what that means is that I need to develop intellectual sharpness. That when temptation comes, like if a person is foolish, they will see the mirage and they'll start chasing after it. Or they will see the reflection and they think that's the reality. So I need intellectual sharpness for this. Now, another metaphor could be that this world is like a prison. Now, if we consider this world like a prison, Durga, then what we need is, we need to change our behavior. It's like, you can say that is, there is a moral improvement that is required. There's behavioral improvement, then we will get out of the jail. Now, if you consider all these three metaphors are actually highly jnani metaphors. What do I mean by jnani metaphors? That in none of these metaphors is God's love evident. It's that, okay, there are illusions over here, and you have to wake up. You have to change. You have to become better. So now each metaphor serves a particular purpose. The metaphor that best illustrates God's love is, this world is like a hospital. In this hospital, pain will be there. But pain is not the purpose of the hospital. And the doctor is not causing the pain. The doctor is actually curing the pain for us. So hospital, the point is we need to heal. There is a healing of our desires. So the idea is we hear Krishna Katha, and then what happens? By hearing Krishna Katha, Bhava Aushadhat Shrotra Manobhirama. This is Aushadhi. Now each metaphor conveys a particular point. Yet none of these metaphors actually very clearly explain the reason for the presence of temptation. Like in a hospital, if somebody is alcoholic and they have gone to the hospital because of alcoholism, in the hospital, nobody will be tempting them to drink more alcohol, isn't it? If somebody has drunk alcohol and because of that, and they have driven and they are, because of lawless behavior, they're put in jail. Now in jail, nobody will be offering them further alcohol. So what happens? That the fact is, in this world, there is this element of enticement, that we are constantly enticed to do wrong. So how do we understand that in the light of Krishna's love? If Krishna wants us to come out of the illusion, then none of these metaphors. If he say it's a mirage, then it's like Krishna has created the mirage. If it's like a reflection, it's Krishna, or it's like a dream, it's Krishna has Krishna put us to sleep, or where does it come from? So how do we reconcile that Krishna is on our side and still in the world there is something which is pulling us in the wrong direction? So let's look at in the next. We'll cover metaphor explains this best. Would you like to read this?
O compassionate, why then do we fall into illusion? It is because you do not care for us. It is because you care so much that you honor our autonomy. You have each of us free will, and free will would be meaningless without an arena to exercise it.
Yes. So the point is that love is expressed in many different ways. The when our child is small, a child is not able to walk. At that time, we lift and we carry our child. And the child may walk a few steps, but the child gets tired. We lift and again carry the child. So, in one sense, at that time, the love is in carrying the child. But if the parents constantly keep carrying the child may never learn to walk, isn't it? So, holding tight is an expression of love, but letting go is also an expression of love. Now, the parents don't want a child to fall while walking. But if the parents are constantly holding the finger or holding the hand of the child will never learn to walk. So, love has both these aspects. Love involves holding fast, and love involves letting go. Now, when we let go, sometimes the child may fall. Like that, Krishna, it is not that Krishna doesn't love us. That why is the material world there where we can exist separate from him, where we can try to live independent of him? That is big. That is also an expression of Krishna's love for us. So Krishna's love is in letting us go. So love has both these aspects, holding fast and letting go. Now, which expression of love is relevant when? That varies. So if there's only holding tight, then what may happen is that the person will get suffocated. The person will never grow. But if there's only letting go, then what may happen is the person may feel completely unsupported. I'm all alone. So in the Western world, the culture is such that once a child becomes maybe 18, 20, at least 25, the idea is you go and have your own life. And the parents don't want the child to stay in at home. It's considered if the child keeps staying at home of the parents, It's a failure of the parents. So there are cases where parents have started taking rent from their children for staying in the house. And their argument is otherwise the children never become responsible. Children never grow up, never learn to do things on their own. So, but what happens is you just send somebody into the world, they may feel unsupported. So, what happens is both is required. Both is we hold tight so that they are connected, but we let go so that they grow. We want to stay connected, we also want them to grow. So let's try to understand this further to come to the point of a metaphor. So in the world, Krishna has created this world so that we can use our free will. And allowing us to use our free will is also an expression of his love. Go ahead, please. Next paragraph. We'll finish with this paragraph.
My beloved Lord, Srila Prabhupada's mission itself is an
Yes. Oh, supremely wise Lord.
O supreme wise Lord, between your benevolent supreme will and our ignorant free will lies a volatile tension. Just as a teacher sets an exam with wrong options, not to mislead but to test, so to do you permit illusion. Yet, like a perfect teacher, you also guide us through saints, scriptures, and the whispers of conscience. Conscience. Thus, by your compassion, you transform this domain of illusion into a domain of education.
Yes. So the point is that so I was in Australia once, and one person asked me this question: if God wants us to do the good thing, then why are there so many bad options in the world? So I told him that's how it always is in any multiple choice exam, isn't it? There are always more bad options, more wrong options than right options. But that does not mean that the teacher wants us to choose the wrong option. But the wrong options are to test us. So, like that, the metaphor which explains the presence of illusion in the world is that the universe is like a university. The university means it's a learning ground. And in the learning ground, we need to educate ourselves. We need to make educated choices, not just lucky guesses or impulsive default actions. So the educated choices. So Krishna's love is seen not in eliminating all wrong options. Krishna's love is seen in giving us the strength to choose the right options, the wisdom. So, in general, I'll conclude with this point. The next paragraph we may not read now. But love, if it is not tested, it cannot be trusted. Now, love that is not tested, it doesn't mean it is not trustworthy. But we can't know whether it is trustworthy or not. Like, say, suppose a boy proposes to a girl, please marry me. The girl asks, why do you want me to marry you? Because no other girl in the city is ready to marry me. No, that is not the most romantic of proposals, isn't it? Now, if the girl accepts that proposal, that shows her love for him, not his love for her, isn't it? That even if I am your last option, still I accept you. That shows her love for him. So like that, many times when we pray to Krishna, I have tried everything, nothing has worked. You are my last option now. Please help me. So we come to Krishna because nothing is working in our life. But Krishna is so kind that he still accepts us. Now that shows his love for us. Now the boy's love for the girl will be shown when if he has some other options and still he chooses to stay with her. Isn't it? So like that for us, when other things also seem to be working and still I say, Krishna, I want to be with you. If our health is not good and we come to Krishna, and our health starts becoming good. Thank you, Krishna. Bye bye. No. Then, okay, we came to Krishna for some time, that is good. But that cannot be the basis of an enduring relationship. So, similarly, the wrong options that are there, if there were no wrong options, then there is no opportunity to show that we want to choose the right option. That's why when I said it's educated choices. But when I use the word focus is not just on an education of the head. Well, that is important, but much more, it is the education of the heart. Education of the head means we memorize shlokas, we can analyze and present philosophy. But education of the heart means that what do I choose as my object of love? What is my topmost object of love? So it is that, see, when there are other options, when the love is tested and still the love stays firm, then that love can be trusted. So similarly, when illusion seems mighty in this world, Tomara ichhaya sab hoye maya bash. And Prabhupada is saying that it is by your arrangement that everyone is an illusion. That does not mean Krishna wants them to be an illusion. But it's like the wrong options are created by the teacher. That doesn't mean the teacher wants people to choose the wrong, students to choose the wrong option. The teacher wants the students to choose the right option. But it is for the students to choose. So even illusion does not have power independent of Krishna. And if some particular temptation seems to be very strong and overpowering us, at that time, it's important to remember that even the power of that illusion is coming from Krishna. So we can pray to Krishna, Krishna, please reveal your attractiveness directly or through some manifestation of yours, so that I may no longer be attracted to this material thing that is currently putting me in illusion. So when we understand that the things that tempt us, they are also coming from Krishna. Why are they coming from Krishna? So, that there's a great mystery in our relationship with Krishna. What is the mystery? That from our side, in one sense, we need Krishna. Actually, we need Krishna. We cannot exist without him. We need Krishna, but we don't want Krishna. We don't have, although we have a need for Krishna, we don't feel any strong wanting, longing. We don't have any strong desire for Krishna. Now, on the other hand, Krishna doesn't need us. Krishna doesn't need us, yet he wants us. Krishna doesn't need us, yet he wants us. That Krishna is Om Purnamada Purnamidam. Krishna is completely happy in the spiritual world without us. But he wants us. So what happens is, now we need Krishna in the sense that without Krishna there will be no air to breathe. Without Krishna our heart would not beat. Without Krishna we would not be able to exist at all. So in that sense we need Krishna. But sometimes we feel neither the need for Krishna nor the want for Krishna. So now what happens is, quite often when illusion is very powerful, when illusion is powerful, that is the time when we start feeling the need for Krishna. That Krishna, without you, I'll get misled. Without you, I'll get lost. Therefore, I want to hold on to you. Now, from there, we want to go to the level of wanting Krishna. But at least we should feel that I need. That means hold on to Krishna, then the waves of illusion will sweep me away. So now, of course, Krishna is not just meant to be a protector from illusion for us. Krishna is meant to be the object of love, supreme object of love. But that is a little distance away for us right now. So when the temptations come in our life, when illusion seems to be, it is Krishna, you who are almighty, it is you, by your power this illusion is mighty now. Please protect me. That makes us feel the need for Krishna. Like if there were no influences there in America. In America, what was happening? Indian Chinese students generally do very well in studies. And in the Ivy League universities, I was giving a talk in Princeton, and one of the deans was there for my talk. After he was telling that if we had only merit based admission, then all our Ivy League filled with Indians and Chinese. There will be no place for Americans also. So what happens? There's some far leftist scholars. They argued that actually because say some races like the Indians, Chinese, they're fairly good at maths. Americans are good, but Indians are brilliant at it, maths. And some races are not that good at maths. So if we have these aptitude tests, IQ scores, so some races score better in IQ and others score lesser in IQ. So what this leftist scholar said is actually maths is racist. So they said that there should not be any test of maths. And now Indians in America do very well in spelling bees. Last 15 years, the spelling bee is where how do you spell words? Indian kids have won the competition every single year. Indians may not be very good at spoken English. We sometimes do a massacre of spoken English and pronunciation. But when it comes to remembering the spelling is very good. That now some groups of people they just can't do it well. So just English spelling is racist. So anything and everything, it just if there is some difference in different result for different people, this is racist, which is ridiculous. See, some people may do well in some tests, may not do well in some tests, but that does not mean that test is, isn't it? So it is not that when somebody passes a test, pass the test. It does not mean Krishna is discriminatory. It just means that we have particular attachments which will be stronger, and we need to work on those attachments.
Is an expression of your compassion, inspiring those devoted to you to dedicate themselves to the liberation of lost souls. O Lord, who respects my free will, please inspire me to use it freely and fully for loving and serving you.
Yes, the Lord has given us free will. The Lord respects us our free will, and we can pray that maybe use that free will to turn towards Him. So illusion, although at one level it seems to pull us away from Krishna, but if we at least one part of us is convinced I want to love Krishna, the illusion power will make us feel the need for Krishna's power, and that will make us more serious in Krishna bhakti. And that's how even illusion is an action of Krishna's compassion. But we need to take shelter of Krishna and then go beyond illusion. In tomorrow morning session, we'll continue and we'll discuss about how Srila Prabhupada consciousness. And when we have some very difficult service to do, how can we go about doing that service? That we'll discuss in tomorrow's session. So today in Srila Prabhupada's, we discussed two main themes. The first theme was broadly about that how we have Krishna consciousness is a combination of transcendental consciousness and practical consciousness. That if we have only one of these, it will not work. So practical consciousness and transcendental. Practical consciousness means it's more about the steps ahead. What are the practical things I'm going to do? It is more about God above us. So when we function in life, it is Krishna is above us, and we need to remember that Krishna is above me. But we go to Krishna through the world. So both this consciousness, this is where we will be both at one level, we'll be faithful, we'll be confident, we'll be calm, but we'll also careful, we'll be resourceful. Otherwise, we may end up not being able to do our best. If we are only practical, we'll get overwhelmed by pleasure or overwhelmed by more often by trouble than pleasure. It will just be lost completely if we are neither. And if we have only transcendental consciousness, we will become impractical in the sense that we will become impractical, will unrealistic. We may end up doing self-sabotage kind of thing. We may neglect things and create unnecessary trouble for ourselves. The second part we discussed was the world's nature. We discussed how the world, there are different metaphors to understand it. You could compare this world to a mirage, you could compare it to a dream. The mirage can focus on the idea that we need to become intellectually sharp. Dream means we need to go to a different level of consciousness. Prison means we need to change our behavior, we need to reform our behavior. Then hospital means we need to cure or heal our desires. But the presence of temptation and illusion, that is explained from the point of a university. So university means that there are wrong options, but the wrong options are not meant to lead us wrong. It is meant to that it is university of love. What do we want to love? So love, when it is tested, it can be trusted. So for each one of us, what happens? We see illusion. We feel of illusion, and that either when we feel pull of illusion, either we can go towards that, or when we feel that pull coming towards us, and that pull is taking us away, that is when we will feel the need to take shelter Krishna. And in that sense, what happens? Illusion can impel us to come closer to. That way, we'll continue tomorrow's session and discuss Srila Prabhupada's prayers a little bit more. Any one question anyone has? How much time do we have? One question. Yes, Prabhu. We'll talk separately. Yes, Prabhu, please tell me. Where's the mic? Yeah, here. Okay, Mataji. Yes, yes, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you so much for a very wonderful class. Prabhuji, you spoke about free will. Huh? So Krishna releases. What is that you said? He controls
Krishna,
as well as he releases us.
Krishna?
He respects our
Free will. Respects our free will, yeah.
But yeah, as per our free will, we are either suffering or enjoying, or we are moving away from Krishna or going towards Krishna. But he has the power, even if he choose the free will that he has given us, he still can control us, and he can still make things very favorable for us. Again, drag us towards him, even moving away from him. So, because he has that power, like if you see Dhruva Maharaj, there was no free will, right? Wanted something for himself. So there was no question of any free will. But till, he fell in love with the Lord when the Lord appeared before him. But it was not falling in love with took so much of trouble. His intention, his motive was something different. It was not the Lord. So there was a free will, but the Lord chose to, give him bhakti. So he can do it for everyone else. I mean, Like if we approach him only, it happens. If we do not approach him, then it doesn't happen, right? So the free will there actually is not a will. It was not a will to love Krishna. It was a will to enjoy on part of Dhruva Maharaj.
Okay,
So
that's a good question. So I'll rephrase it that the question is that if our free will is the test for our free will is that we need to redirect it towards Krishna and love him. But then there are situations where uh, Dhruva didn't really want to love Krishna, but he wanted to, you could say, enjoy a kingdom through Krishna. And Krishna, still he fell in love with Krishna. Krishna had mercy on him. Well, yes. Let's, this can be a whole class, but quickly I'll make a comparison over here. Take three comparisons. One is Dhruva. Dhruva saw the Lord and he desired. That is param drishtva nivartate. Kacham vichinvan api divyaratnam. Now, if we consider Pururava, his story comes in the 9th canto and the 11th canto both. Now, there, when he lost Urvashi, in order to get Urvashi, he performed a yajna to Vishnu. And Vishnu came right in front of him. And what happened? He said, I want Urvashi. He had a darshan of Vishnu, but he wanted Urvashi. The third example is Duryodhan. Now, Duryodhan saw saw Krishna personally in his two-handed form. He saw Krishna's Vishwarup also. But still, there was no effect. So why the difference? If the Lord's darshan is there, so if the Lord's darshan is the cause of somebody's loving the Lord, then why the difference? So the thing is that the Lord, by his mercy, may reveal his beauty. But it is for us to choose that beauty. So in the case of Pururava, his attachment to Urvashi was so strong that even when the Lord came in front of him, for him, Urvashi's beauty had so much captured his mind that he just wanted her. However, what happens is that because he had some level of a devotional approach, some level of faith he had in the Lord, so that impression, that chubby stayed. And gradually, eventually, he became detached and he completely surrendered to, became dedicated to the Lord. Now, Duryodhan, because he had absolutely no devotional attitude, so the perception of the Lord, the direct darshan of the Lord, had no impact on him. So yes, so the Lord, now in the case of Dhruva, what happened? Yes, he wanted to enjoy a kingdom, but it's like, I think something is valuable and that's what I am chasing. But if I get something which is more valuable, or if I think this is enjoyable and I'm getting something which is more enjoyable, am I open? Okay, this is really better. So if we may have worldly desires because we think something is desirable. But then when we are shown something more desirable, how soon are we ready to let it go? Say this reciprocation, there is the human side and the divine side. So the human side is about choosing, or we can say it is not just choosing, it is after choosing it's pursuing. Now the divine side is about revealing. So now Krishna's revealing his beauty should inspire us to choose him. But sometimes it may happen that Krishna reveals his beauty, still we do not choose him. Now that is not on Krishna. So we may say, okay, if I experience the kind of ecstasy that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would experience on the darshan of Krishna, then I will forget all sense gratification forever. Well, maybe not. Because what happens is ultimately each of us has to choose and decide what we think is desirable. We have example of Kala Krishna Das being with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and still getting distracted for some time. So that's why, rather than thinking that Krishna is, why is Krishna, is there free will? Yes, my free will is that among the range of choices that I have, let me try to make as much of a devotional choice I can. And if I do that, Krishna will give me more and more revelations. And as I keep getting more and more revelations, I'll become more and more attracted and absorbed in Krishna. So maybe, for example, we may not have the taste to just sit and read the Bhagavatam for hours. Hmm? I sit and I have a whole day I have free, I'll read 12 hours Bhagavatam. Maybe we don't have that taste. But if we come to a katha for 1 hour, and now there we have the capacity, okay, I can focus on 1 hour for 1 hour. Now, if at that time, if we choose to be distracted, then what are we showing Krishna? Now, if that class is also interesting, now we are interested, but still we let ourselves get distracted. Then the revelation which we are given, if we do not value that revelation, then Krishna will not give us a greater revelation. Now we could also say in the case of Dhruva, there are other factors. His mother's blessings were there, and also Narad Muni's blessings were there. So in that sense, that also played a significant role in the Lord giving him that revelation. But whatever be the reason the Lord gave him that revelation, he chose that revelation. That's why uh, I'll conclude this answer with that the range of our free will may be dependent on the Lord's revelation. That means, for example, if somebody is born and brought up in a country where they have never heard of God only, leave alone Krishna, they have never heard of God itself. So it's unlikely, but say Soviet Russia during communist rule was aggressively atheistic. So now in that case, still they may not have the choice of even knowing about God, but even within that, everybody has a choice. Do I want to live more tamasically? They may not know the word tamasic, but do I want to live a more meaningful life? Or do I just want to live a life where I'm just choosing quick pleasures? So among whatever range we have, if we choose the higher option, then that is the one part of us which is ultimately looking for God. We may not even know God, but we are actually looking for the highest reality. So among whatever options we have, we just try to choose the higher option, and gradually we'll be guided to the highest option, that is Krishna in his supreme attractiveness. Does that answer your question? Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki, Krishna Bhagwan ki, Jai Gaur Premanande.